And joining me now to break down this historic verdict is attorney Ethan Bearman of the Bearman Group. He's also a professor at Loyola Law School. Ethan, how surprised are you that the jury returned a guilty verdict on all 34 counts?
Well, I was a little bit surprised. I thought that if they convicted, it was going to be for the checks for sure. But as soon as I heard the guilty verdict come in related to a voucher, my immediate reaction was, oh boy, they're going to find him guilty on all 34 counts. Bluntly, that was a little surprising to me. I'm not totally surprised, but yeah, I went to bet money on that.
Yeah, so Ethan, what happens next? We know the sentencing hearing is set for July 11th, just a few days before the Republican National Convention. What can we expect now?
Well, I'm going to see a flurry of appeals from Todd Blanche and the defense team. They're going to start attacking every which way they can. They objected many, many times, as they were supposed to, by the way, for their client. They did their job. And so they put in objections in most of the places they should have and needed to, and those will be leveraged for the appeals.
Ethan, can you tell us, I mean, now that he is actually a convicted criminal, can he still run for re-election as president?
Well, this is a very interesting new territory. First off, yes, he can be sitting in a jail cell if he should get jail time at the sentencing, and he can still run for president of the United States of America. What he can't do is he is now a 34 times convicted felon, and he changed his home state voting to the state of Florida. He is not allowed to vote in Florida, and they have very strict rules about when felons can vote again after completing sentence, probation, paid all fines, etc. So Florida, while cracking down on other felons, have made it more difficult for President Trump to be able to vote again.
So interesting. All right. So Ethan, you talked about jail time. There is a possibility of up to 4 years maximum of jail time. What really are the possibilities of that?
I think that's extraordinarily low. I think if he gets any jail time at all, he gets a maximum of 30 days. He's a first-time offender, first time he's been convicted. And by the way, I have to make this very clear. This was a well-run trial. For whatever certain people are going to comment on outside of a courtroom, this was a jury of his peers. They went through a complete voir dire. Objections were heard. Sometimes the defense won. Sometimes the prosecution won. This was a well-run courtroom. This was a solid aspect of the American judicial process that was put before us over these last few weeks.
All right. So, and how, Ethan, does this now affect the other cases that he's facing?
Well, it kind of doesn't, because when you're looking at federal cases in Washington, D.C., which is essentially on hold because of the Supreme Court, and the one in Florida, which is also essentially on hold because of the Supreme Court, although there is a hearing in Florida, a 3-day hearing coming up in late June, the only effect will be is if he's actually in jail. That could have some impact on hearing dates.
It's really all quite fascinating. Professor Ethan Bearman from Loyola Law School, thank you so much for your expertise and your time.
Sharon, thank you so much for having me back.